day diddle dee di do. Whack full a day diddle dee di do. Fiddle diddle day diddle dee di do. Whack full a day diddle dee di do. Shalala no, fiddle diddle day diddle dee di do. Oh, the feet I heard it. Whack full a day diddle dee di do. Shalala no, fiddle diddle day diddle dee di do. Oh, the feet I heard it. Whack full a day diddle dee di do. Shalala no, fiddle diddle day diddle dee di do. Oh, the feet I heard it. Whack full a day diddle dee di do. Shalala no, fiddle diddle day diddle dee di do. Oh, the feet I heard it.
And took them clean away. The king of hearts called for the darts and beat the knave full sore. The knave of hearts brought back the darts and vowed he'd steal no more. Steal no more. Steal no more. Steal no more. Off with their head. She made some darts all on a summer's day. The knave of hearts, he stole the darts and took them clean away. The king of hearts called for the darts and beat the knave full sore. The knave of hearts brought back the darts and vowed he'd steal no more. She made some tarts all on a summer's day. The knave of hearts, he stole the tarts and took them clean away. The king of hearts called for the darts and beat the knave for sore. The knave of hearts brought back the darts and vowed he'd steal no more. She made some tarts all on a summer's
I'll start once.
You're live. Welcome.
Hello! Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pagan Market's Pagan Sunday service. I'm Michael, and with me,
Loki, and with us,
I'm Bridget. Hello. Just me.
And thanks to everybody here in person. I appreciate you coming out. Thank you for showing up.
Hello.
see you guys again.
Yeah. Like having their people. People be coming in off and on, so.
Yeah. All right. Go.
Okay. So,
And start.
here's the thing. Sun and the moon are doing things right now, and they're very exciting things. The sun is in Cancer. The moon was recently in Cancer on our new moon. That was a whole thing, man. There was some energetic stuff.
And which day was that on? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Oh, geez, I think it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. That's right. Yeah, we did like a little thing in the home, and it was nice. I personally felt this midsummer that it was kind of more of an internal sort of a thing for me than it had been in previous years. A lot of times it's like a very external, very outward bursting of joy and that kind of celebration. This time around, it's Sarah. This time around, it felt more like a celebration within, more than outside. I've been doing a lot of emotional work, a lot of inner work this year, and it's been really good stuff, and I can be really proud of that growth. And I've been doing stuff in the outer world too, and I'm proud of that as well. But this was more focused for me on the inward self, because that Cancer moon, the new moon as well, that's a very inward-looking, kind of inward-focused, quiet, meditative place. So it's a place of deep emotion, a place of healing, a place of home and family. Cancer is all about the home and your family environment, whether that's past or present. It's been a fascinating time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like it was a lot more introspective too, and just learning about yourself, having some new like ideas and inspiration, like insights about yourself. I had a lot of that this week.
I've been like a live wire. My emotions have been like here.
Right. Cancer moon, that's what that does, especially when it's newer.
Yeah, it brings to light like everything that needs nurturing, you know? And with everything that, because like Jupiter was in Cancer as well, and there was talk about like this isn't a Cancer moon just about nurturing and bubble baths, but it's about like nurturing the systems that you're putting in place, and it's about nurturing like we just got out of a period where I can't remember which planet it was, so you'll have to excuse me, but one of the planets moved from Leo and then is now moving into do you remember what it is? Basically it was so it went from like the show, yes, that's the one. It went from the show of like force, like all of the like different protests that we saw, like there was a big show, but then when the planets move, now it becomes yes, we have now put out what isn't working. Now we have to start nurturing systems, and we have to start nurturing what we're building, and not just making a show of it, but like talking it now, like and walking, being like, we cannot do this, we have now shown, and now we have to start nurturing, building, creating.
I spent a lot of my life being angry and trying to tear down systems that weren't working, and doing what I could to make that happen, and that's necessary. And then I learned that there was more than just that. You can also build new systems that are healthier, that are better for your people, for your community, for the health of the human creature,
Yeah, and the planet.
Yeah.
For the planet as well.
Yeah, gotta do both.
So I was going to say, I've been going through the emotional things as well. My witchcraft and my perspective, I tend to go at it from an engineering point of view. So if you said it was okay for me to use the whiteboard?
Absolutely. That's why I wasn't snickering at you saying going through things. I saw your list of milk, eggs, and emotional damage, and I snickered at the exact wrong time. So let's transition to this whiteboard.
Don't worry about that, you guys.
Emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
It's all part of the show.
This was charged.
The part I screwed up.
Do you want this was charged at our midsummer thing? It's called a lavender, a little bit of rosemary.
All right, folks. Is anyone present here working on your actual not physical, but the action of spell casting? Are you guys working on that right now? All right. Well, I'll lay some science on you for when you're doing that. So this is the wheel of the year. This is the new year. This is Jan 1, and this is midsummer. So there are 2 M's in there, I swear.
You are here.
So this is the wheel there. This is the calendar. This is January. This is midsummer. This is the winter solstice, and this is the summer solstice. So we just passed it. So we're like right here, you know. And so the energetic correspondences go from here to the equinox to equinox, but the solar ones, which we're going to draw on right now, are from here to here. So this represents the light. I am so sorry for my handwriting. And then dark. So we're right here, and we're going around. We're going to start getting into like Lunasa and Mabon and Samhain, you know, Halloween, that's our Samhain there. In the dark half. So when you're casting, you tie your intentions in certain ways. So this is a solar cycle. So if you're attaching it to the sun, you're attaching it in the light half to growth and attraction and things like that. So let's say for expansion, yeah, opening to that sort of thing. So if you're doing an abundance spell in the light half of the year, theoretically you would use your correspondences to attract, to open to draw in. That would be your literal. In terms of magical hygiene, that would be the kind of words that you're using, that you want to do. Now, if you were doing that same spell, this is cool because I want to talk to you guys about dual lens spellcasting, which not everybody does. So in the dark half of the year, in theory, what you would do, you could still do an abundance spell, even though the dark half is more about releasing, dissolving, and recovery. But you can still do the same abundance spell, whereas this is attracting abundance, attracting things that bring you abundance. Do the same spell, but this time you're going to release, you're going to dissolve, you're going to recover. That's your wording for your spell. And what you're doing, instead of attracting the abundance, is dissolving anything that's in the way of your abundance, or clearing space to allow space for abundance to come in. And that's just as important as the abundance itself. And this is going to keep going. This is the Oak King attunement that I've been doing since January. And what's interesting, though, is you have the sun is waning now that we're here. So when your solar correspondences, you're going to attach them to dissolving what's in your way, opening space, that sort of thing. Keywords I wrote down for that are remove, dissolve, release. But at the same time, the moon, even though it's not crescent, the moon is going up. So at the same time, your abundance spell can be removing something in a solar correspondence and gaining something in a lunar correspondence, particularly if you know what the lunar correspondence is, like we just went through the Cancer moon. So what you are raising in your spell casting, let's say it's abundance, you're removing obstacles, but you're also raising care, like for the Cancer moon, for your home, your love, your emotion, and all the things that we've been going through during that Cancer moon, even though now it's like in Virgo now. It's a different thing. Yeah,
but like the new and the full moons offer a certain energy to the rest of the entire cycle, so you can still work with that.
Mm-hmm. So we're in it. When you get in these positions, it's really interesting because you can cast for abundance and dissolution at the same time. So you're kind of your spell is right here, and it's kind of a hinge point between these two things. And it's cool to get two of them going. So when you're spell casting, it's not just either build up or dissolve. You can do both, and you can do both in a very specific way. This is kind of like the macrocosm, and then the monthly lunar cycle is more the microcosm. And that's how you can attach to both simultaneously to do the mechanics of the spell going in and out, up and down, that sort of thing. Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. Okay, I see nodding heads, so I just wanted to talk about the mechanics of that.
So like in the story of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lunar cycle stuff is going to be your monster of the week episode stuff, right? And then the solar stuff is going to be your big story arcs, your entire season, right? If your life was like a TV show or something.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. I like that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And this also has to do with the power of because you can cast a spell of any kind, anytime that you want, with your will. You don't have to attach it to a deity if you don't want to. You can just use your will and do it if you are so trained. But if you attach that will onto correspondences and huge astral planetary correspondences like the sun and the moon and things like that, and you really align and do it in a ceremonial sense where you're gaining your own energy and making cones of power and sending them out, it's like, yeah, I can throw a rock over there, and I can take that same rock and throw it in a slingshot and do something different. Or as you said, you can throw a rock, or you can build a
trebuchet.
trebuchet.
Sometimes you need a small rock thrown at reasonable arm speeds. Sometimes you need a good slingshot, and sometimes you need the trebuchet, but not all the time.
Yeah.
They're all good. They're all good.
I don't even know how to remember that word. I'd be like, how did you remember the word? That's a big word.
That is my other special interest.
Yeah. So I like that because this is just a trebuchet is a tool, and this is a tool. This is a method that within your spiritual practice you can be like, oh, my practice is this, and I identify with these deities, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. That's part of attunement. Now, what are you doing with it? What's the method? What's the practice? And I tend to get involved. Not that the attunement and the emotional consolidations and stuff aren't important. Of course they are. You need to be pure and understanding of your own subconscious and what you're doing in order to do this stuff. But I also like getting into the mechanisms of it, the engineering of a spell. There are recipes for making a spell. It's not just the good vibes, if you know what I mean. That sounds derogatory, I don't mean it.
It's not just chaos magic where if you roll a 1, then something bad happens.
That's true. There's always more to it. And it's like, you got to work inside and out. You got to do both at once. You gotta understand that you're multidimensional, and you have to work in all your dimensions at once. You got your emotional stuff, you got your mental stuff. You got to ground that in the physical world too.
That's why we have the pentacle even. We have our physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, and it all works together. So if you're out of sync or out of balance in one way or another, then you're just gonna flop.
Can I show that real quick? We're still pretty early on, right?
Yeah.
Show up.
The pentacle
Framework. And how to.
Yes.
I've used this all the time now. It's like
I
if
do this with
something
my
is-
kids, you guys.
Yeah, if my day feels off, I do this, and I figure out what's off about it, and it works every time.
I won't take I could talk this for hours, so I won't take too long. So I'm going to put this evil occult symbol on here. Yay! And all right, so this is what I do. I do this with my kids, you guys, as well as myself and my own goal setting. But so we have spirit, earth, again, handwriting, apologies, fire, air, and water. Some I see water is up here, but whatever, however you like to do it. Spirit are your spiritual goals, duh. It's like your meditation, it's your mindfulness, it's your spiritual reading, whatever your practice is. Do you like high magic? Do you like ceremonial magic? You do the LBRP, or cast circle, do a banishment at the beginning of your day, whatever you like to do. Meditation and journaling and gratitude, I always put in there. And I do this for my kids.
Outside of the trees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And my kids have little gratitude books, and we'll get them up in the morning and go through the pentagram, and it's not too long, it's kid stuff, but I'll have them write 2 things they're grateful for. Oh, we just got back from vacation. Didn't you enjoy the beach? Yes, I like the beach, and I like our beach house and stuff like
We
that.
got some great ice cream at Costco. Yeah.
And then we'll go down to Earth and talk about what are your Earth goals. And this is, even a child can understand these things. They've been doing really well. My son, last time I was like, what do you think would fulfill your Earth today? And he said, I'm going to fill up my water bottle and make sure I have water all day. I'm like, absolutely. And we did that and some sun salutations and stretched. And that was a wonderful thing to do for Earth. And for me, that usually means like exercising, going to boxing or stretching or whatever. It could also, but there's a lot of ways to interpret it. It could be like cleaning up your living space because that is helping your body and your movement.
Did you budget your money?
Oh, yeah.
You're like,
Your physical
Yes.
concerns.
Not just your physical body, but
Yeah,
also
like-
the physical world around you that affects you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get to fire. That's your passions, your will, things that you're passionate about. And so, longer term projects for me, my business usually, things like that. But not necessarily. That's really open to interpretation. Air is your knowledge, your wisdom, learning. I'll have my kids do their Duolingo and read their books that will just, for 10 minutes, that sort of thing. And then water is the emotion. Emotion can be sometimes hard with the kids. I know, getting my kids to understand their emotions. So I have a feelings wheel that I printed out, and they'll be like, I don't know, that made me feel bad. And then this feelings wheel will be like, okay, bad. What kind of bad? Was it, distrustful? Was it insecure? Was it, and then you filter it down, and then they'll finally come down to, yeah, I felt embarrassed. That's what it was. I was embarrassed specifically. And getting them to have language for specific emotions, not just I felt happy, I felt bad, but no, what did you really feel? What was it? The other thing I like to do is take a tarot card And not the definition of the card, but I'll just take the picture and say, what feeling does this evoke in you, you guys? What does it bring to your mind? And so that's just that's the pentagram framework to operate in balance. It's so simple a child can understand it, and also it's obviously very good for adults. So.
And like on that note too, Mike, what I thought was cool is sometimes I have a hard time also figuring out how I feel about all of those things. So I do a tarot spread and like break up my tarot deck by pentacle, by wands, by, you know, all those things, because they're elemental associations with the different parts of the tarot. And sometimes if I do a spread, I'll just pick one and go, okay, maybe that does or doesn't fit how it's feeling right now. So like doing a pentacle spread can sometimes be illuminating too on that point.
And then you can
Absolutely.
even like break up the different sections of the tarot and then just have like the wands in the fire position and then just all the cups in the other one, and then just pull cards based off of that. Like, so what is my fire using the fire portion of the deck, and what is my water, just the water portion of the deck, and that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
ooh. And we got more people coming in, so we're just kind of trying to shift about.
Shuffling chairs.
Shuffling chairs.
Welcome.
Hi guys, this is available.
Right here.
Yes, we do have 3 chairs.
Yeah. Got a full house today.
Yeah, we do.
So that's what I like to talk about because I don't know if it's like a masculine point of view or anything, but like when I can really get into the mechanics of these things, I tend to thrive on routines and action and movement and motion and methods and practices. Like I'm wearing a practice right now.
And what is that?
This is the mala. I meditate with this mala, but the reason I wear it out is because if I'm out and I feel reactive, I'm driving and people are merging in front of me and I'm having trouble. This thing gets in the way. I'm wearing it on my wrist because it's annoying, and I'm driving and it reminds me that it's there. It's like, you know, I'm wearing my tetragrammaton as well, but I'm not noticing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, same thing with the rubber band. Sometimes people just use a rubber band to, like, if they're having like bad habits too. Like,
Oh, I didn't know that
yeah.
one.
And that's
Well-
like a simple, easy, accessible thing too. So it's like you don't have to go to like spend anything. You can just get a little rubber band and flick yourself and remind yourself you're doing a bad habit again.
That's an interesting one. I like that.
I think your focus on grounding your practice and practically the way that you do is also like I read that as Virgo energy. That's
Oh, totally.
That's how I see that.
Well, and this has specific meaning because I'll meditate and I'll chant and I'll go, I am loving awareness, or I'll chant Ram or whatever. And
CD.
CD-ROM, yes. Not just the
DVD.
stupid
Oh,
old
yeah.
normal ROM.
Yeah.
Deity ROM, did you say?
Ew,
Jeez.
deity.
That's funny.
So I'm at a choice now. I'm driving and I'm mad at somebody and I got this and I'm noticing this because it's on the steering wheel. And so it's like, okay, on this hand I'm pissed, and on this hand I am touching the beads that I use to call upon divinity in the names of God. Now I have a choice. Which way will I go? And if I have the choice, if I noticed the choice, if I reminded myself that I have a choice and I'm not just a reactionary asshole, then what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose peace.
You're going to choose the left.
On the way here, you were with me. On the way here, as we were about to U-turn to come into here, a guy in a Lincoln just flicks his cigarette butt out, and I was just about ready to like go grab it and flick it back into his thing, and I was just like, nah, maybe, as you said, it's like maybe go pick it up, but you don't have to confront the guy. And this helped remind me a little bit about that, where it's just like choose peace, choose escalation, or don't choose escalation.
Choose escalation.
Choose escalation.
And then
To
have
escalate peace.
Yes, escalate peace. I like that.
Yeah, escalate the peace.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the right choice in my heart. Not in the
Yeah, of
moment.
course.
I didn't want to make that choice, but I know because, like, what if I go yell at him and flick it back in his face? Is that going to liberate him? Is he going to be like, you know, I have been a little inconsiderate. That asshole was right about me. Yeah, and you know.
I mean, we could hope.
But yeah, that's not going to liberate him or me. So.
Then having grace for yourself when you do choose to react, because we all react.
And the fun
You know,
thing is when
having-
you
Having forgiveness. Sorry. No, you are okay.
when you hold the vibration by going out there and picking up the thing and putting it somewhere besides just on the ground, that
Yeah.
like sets the vibe, that changes the world around you. Maybe he sees that and he goes, oh shit.
That happened
I
to
had
me.
a carton, I could put it in there.
Sorry to interrupt. That happened to me in Somalia. I was watching all the soldiers just dump their wrappers just into the wind and then catch. And one of the security guys that was with us went and just started picking it up. He didn't berate them. He didn't say anything. He just went and grabbed some of their wrappers, and they saw him, and all of a sudden, all the soldiers were policing their stuff and picking up. Even though we were 3 hours in the middle of nowhere, he just set that example for them, and they followed suit. And I really appreciated that. He didn't yell at him. He didn't say anything to him.
Yeah.
It was great.
Sometimes
you
being.
got to be confrontational about it. Though sometimes confrontation is important,
Yeah.
but not in every single situation.
So anyway, you talk.
I'll talk. So let's talk about like systems, tradition, like because you were talking about like doing Virgo stuff about like having like here's the mechanics of everything. So I do tarot a lot, and I'm going through right now with the major arcana and doing like the rows of 7 and then setting up the cards so that the first row is going to be between 1 through 7 and then so on and so on. And then we've been doing a series where we're talking about like how they correspond to each other going this way in rows rather than this way. So like rather than magician to high priestess, now we're doing like this way. And now we are to the Hierophant. Also, timing worked out so good because we are going to be talking about like Litha and the sun and everything. And the Hierophant card is all about the structures and dogma and tradition. And it's in the first line of the major arcana because as you're growing and evolving, the first things we learn about is the education system. The first thing we learn about is some sort of a religious dogma that we're going to be introduced to. And that shouldn't be like, oh, I now know my dogma, so I don't get to learn anything new now. Like, you should graduate, you should move on to the next step. That's why the dogmatic card is in the first line of learning about yourself, and then as you progress, then you become more, like, enlightened. And so with the Hierophant, there are systems that are helpful, you know, like if you think back on, like, your own traditions, there's some traditions that we love. They bring us peace, they bring us comfort, you know, and if they're still helpful and valuable, then some of those traditions, hold on to them, you know, like it works out good. If you get to the point now where you're starting to feel like you're outgrowing it, that's when we go into the Hanged Man energy, where you kind of flip everything that you knew on its head. And in the Hanged Man, they have like a little halo around their head, kind of showing this like new perspective, and then the light kind of goes down to the sun if you have them all lined out like that. So with the Hanged Man, it's not about like a self-sacrifice that was unwanted. It's usually like a sacrifice that you were putting forward because you want change. You know, like we have a lot of stories about like Odin and Jesus and these people who like put them, like they self-sacrificed for like a greater knowledge, and we can do that as well. It even has this person like on a cross, like, you know, just on a cross. I was going to say cross like something, I couldn't think of a word. But it's not a full cross like we see in Christianity. It's a like that. And so this is implying getting out of routine and then trying like a new perspective. As you go further on, this, how he's holding his body is the same way the figure in the World card is holding their body, but just upright. Showing that sometimes when you want to go to the next level, you need to change your perspective. Like the next card after the Hangman is the Death card. And I don't think it's any, you know, it's not a coincidence that after you have sacrificed, a death happens, you know. But then after you like learn about like this new perspective and you start going through where you're challenging like your inner darkness, what do you believe? Like, does the stuff from the Hierophant even fit anymore? Like, how do we want to change these systems now? Like, we're seeing that in the outer world as well. Like, if the systems aren't working, instead of just burning it down, like everybody, you know, how can we nurture? How can we fix? How can we be there for the people, you know, for all of us? You know, how can everybody be supported? And then you have the Sun card, which is like also to bring it back into like the midsummer and everything, where you have the sun that mimics the enlightenment from the Hanged Man card. You have like the sunflowers, you have innocence, and you have just purity, where you have now reached a level of new knowledge of yourself. But it's also not the last card of the major arcana either, because then you still have like the Judgment card and then the World, meaning like once you have now been enlightened, because sometimes I've gotten the Sun card when crappy things are happening, and it's not saying like, oh, I'm so enlightened now. Now it's a, oh, I did do this terrible thing. I had a Sun card moment just like a couple months ago when I was looking back on like my divorce from 6 years ago, when I was finally able to go like, I did bad stuff too, you know, like, and it was easy to be like, oh no, I was the one to blame, and I victimized. I'm like, oh no, I act absolutely, but it brought me peace though, because I was able to go, I did some bad stuff too, and now I'm to a point where I can see it, but I'm at a lot more of a place where I can forgive myself easier for some of those things that you do when you react, you know. Sometimes you get triggered beyond your emotional intelligence level, and then after you have some time, you can go, oh yeah, but now I see it, and if the opportunity arises, I can apologize, you know. And you're like, I absolutely did this, and I'm sorry for how it affected your life and stuff. And then with the judgment card, that's kind of how it comes up. You can now like have not like judgment in, we've always talked about, it's like with the judgment card in tarot, it's not like about like the final judgment. It's like, oh, I can see what I did, and now I'm ready to take accountability for what I did. And then you can free yourself in the world card, which just has that same figure but this way. And then you can do it all again, and then be rebirthed back into the cycle. The Fool goes back in, meets the Magician, and does the whole card series over again. Like, and so with Litha, trying to bring it back in, on the circle of the Wheel of the Year that we were just talking about, Litha is when the sun is at its most highest, which we talked about, and in a magical sense, you're like channeling all of that energy down to the earth at that point. And so it is a highly charged time period where it's time to, like, if you are being given energy from a divine source, if you're giving energy from the plant, the sun, which it was considered a god for a reason to like the ancients and stuff, because if you take away the science we know about the sun, it's remarkable that this burning fire is making it so life can happen. And at the point of the solstice, when the sun is giving us all of that power, it's like, it's adding to our abilities, it's adding to like the way we live in the world, and it's going to give us that light to go into the darkness, because like we were saying, the sun is waning now, and so now we can go into the darkness, remembering that we did have that light of the solstice there that infused us.
Solstice is a good time to like charge any tools, any crystals, anything like that you want to kind of carry that energy for the dark part of the year, when you need like a reminder of the warmth that will return.
Yeah, because the sun, like think about like the Druids who worshipped the sun, and when you look at it, it's bananas to like take away all of your practical knowledge about it and think about what the sun does, and just does it anyways because that's what it does.
It causes
it
all of our weather. You know,
Yeah.
all that weather that has ever happened in your life that has impressed you and been beautiful in the sky. That thing does that. That's pretty cool.
Like, I don't know, I think it's really cool. So then you get to take it with you, and it imbues everything, and you're like, I am receiving. Thank you so much. And that's my TED Talk about the cards. I'll keep adding.
Your brother says Bridget's so knowledgeable in wines.
Oh,
Sure.
whatever. Kelly, thank
Brother's
you.
watching.
Oh, Kelly, thank you. He likes to tease me.
That's not teasing.
I know it's
He said Big
Actually-
Brother bias. Take the damn compliment.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I just-
Here's the thing. Everybody loves you. You're magical. You're beautiful. You're smart as fuck.
Okay, someone else should talk.
I just did.
Thank you.
I can point out one other thing about sun correspondence.
Yes.
For the Wheel of the Year particularly. I don't think I need to draw it again, but
Because I've got the
Oh, yeah,
Wheel of
we
the
have
Year
it on the-
here.
do you have it up? Okay, so draw a vertical line between like January and midsummer, and that's your energetic solar correspondence. Now draw a line from Mabon to Ostara, from the spring to the fall. That is your solar correspondence, your elemental solar correspondence. So obviously, so I'm talking about like, well, after midsummer, the sun is waning. Well, it's still blazing hot and bright, and we haven't even gone through July and August. The point isn't that the power of the sun is going away, it's just what direction it's moving with. You're still drawing off the elemental power of the sun, which is huge right now. We're just a few days past midsummer. So you're still drawing off of it. It's not like weak and, oh, you should move your power source to the moon or anything. No, it's still the sun, but it's just the way that it's going. Now, if you want to connect with the energy of something, then consider, like right now, you're dissolving, is the dissolution, is the releasing, is the making space, everything like that. But the sun itself is giving you that power, because the elemental correspondence is from, is the wheel still up?
Yeah.
So
it hasn't gone away.
so from Beltane, it passes the equinox, and now you're getting longer days than shorter days. And then back over by Mabon at the fall equinox, the sun is now fighting a losing battle against the dark, and that's when the power of the sun is actually going to be less than the dark, and you'll draw on different things. Mm-hmm. And then eventually after Samhain, just take a break from your practice energetically until Yule, and it's coming back and moving in the right direction, even though it's minute energy, but it's moving in the right direction, so it's going with the flow of your spell. So does that make sense? It's like the spell needs power to draw off, it needs intention, the anatomy of a spell being that you need altered consciousness, energy manipulation, and clear intention. That's out of order. Altered consciousness, clear intention, and energy manipulation to go your spell. So the energy manipulation part, to power your spell, to throw that rock in whatever capacity you want to, with your arm or a trebuchet, is based not just off the energetic movement of the sun, but the power of it right now. So after fall equinox, I wouldn't draw from the sun, even though it's heading in the, I wouldn't draw on that for release. I would probably draw on Samhain and everything like that. That's going to be a lot more introspective, and the veil is thin, and dealing with the other side and things like that.
You have that cycle every month just when the moon as well, because we have, in the tradition we were taught in, you have the god cycle, which is the sun, and then you have the goddess cycle, which is the moon, and the moon's kind of doing that same cycle as the sun goes around. And so if you're to the point where you need to release, but the sun is over here, but if the moon's doing, we mentioned that earlier,
Well, you said it was like X-Files, you have the monster of the week, and then you have like the overarching mystery. And
right?
stuff.
Yeah. And it's like that. So and I always tell people, if you are in need of a spell in the moment, sometimes you have to, for safety and different things like that, if you're needing to change some stuff, you can take into those considerations as well, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, if you need to clear a house, you got to clear a house,
Yeah.
But yeah, the moon does the same thing. So if you need that, you can draw on that. And then the other planets are doing stuff all the time.
That's why I love working with lunar correspondences, because all the things I can't do with the sun in the middle of winter, I can absolutely do with the moon in the middle of winter.
Probably
And
better.
It's reflecting the same sunlight as well. So the energy is different, but also the same.
That's interesting.
I like looking at also, if you're going to be looking at, what do you call it, force and form. I think that's the term you use, yin and yang.
Yeah.
Your Venus and your Mars, using your Venus and Mars too. And then you can find your own, there's a lot of apps on the internet, has a lot of things where you can find where your personal Venus is in your own, mine is in Aries, so I keep going to say that. But but you can find it where they'll say, Mars is here right now, so how does that correspond to you? And so then you can look at how those aspects of you are handling. And then you can look at how things are affecting the community, because the outer planets reflect everybody else. So you have the generational planets. So people in my generation are going to have the same planet placements. But the inner planets are going to, so you can always work with those as well.
Yeah, you can go as deep as you want with planetary correspondences.
Yeah.
And your Saturn return. And everything.
That one's a trip. Dude.
You get deeper into astrology, there's all kinds of fun things you can do with that.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but that's basic theory with sun and moon, and then you can get a lot deeper. I don't do a ton of planetary magic. That's about what I do.
Well, Venus makes the pentacle in the sky, as it goes around. If you follow, it makes the flower, and it's a pentacle. They've tracked it.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So that's why Venus is revered as the goddess too, because it makes a pentacle if you track it throughout the.
Is there a picture of that online somewhere?
Yeah, you can find it.
Venus
You can just Google Venus pattern sky. I don't know what you're doing, but it makes
We've got our best people on it.
there's some witchy paths of the rose, and they have each of the petals of the pentacle that Venus makes that corresponds with different chakra points, and then different parts of the year and stuff. It's really cool.
Love that. Love that.
It's Venus is in this side of the petal of the rose, and then you're doing all this.
Is this it, Bridget? Can you come over here and look at this one?
God. Oh, I just made my water bottle full.
You're fine. Is that it?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. That is so cool. I'm totally going to put that up in a second.
And you can find necklaces, some of the pentacle necklaces look like that.
Did you see?
I feel like I've seen that in
Might be
cathedrals.
something I
There
know.
must be some correspondence with
The
rose,
cathedrals
Virgin
have-
Mary.
Yeah, no, because there's
flower
a
pattern or clover patterns. They repeat a lot, especially in those old cathedrals.
you find it a lot with I cannot pronounce it. I'm so sorry, but Inanna, like in her lore and everything, and her going down into the underworld and stuff, and like everything. At each point of the petal, like she gives something else to herself as she descends. And then it goes with the planet also, because like during the time when like Venus is the morning star, it's talking about like Inanna is at that peak with the rotation around the Earth. And then the descent, when you can't see it, is when she's in the underworld, like for, giving different parts of herself to
And we have
save
to
her
go
sister.
get her.
We have to go get her.
I
Go
feel like
get her.
if you made a course about that, we would all give you all of our money.
Well, I've been wanting to do like a meditation with the planets, but like with alchemy, like each one of the planets are a different part of the alchemical process, you know, like, and then you're going to make gold at the sun. Like you start out further out, each one like you go through the refinement process and you have the different metals, and then like you have to give of yourself, you know, and then it also goes into the elements. It's really cool.
Hi. So beautiful.
Thank you. I didn't plan on this.
Alchemy is delicious. The more you know of it.
So if anybody's interested, we'll do an alchemy thing where I take you through a journey.
Miss, me.
You.
I'm interested.
Okay. And it'll be for free because, you know, we're in a weird time period right now.
There may be donations forthcoming now.
Questions at this point?
Or
Yeah, what time
comments?
is it?
So
Are we-
many. I mean,
Oh,
where
do you
'cause
consent to
I
being
feel-
do you consent to being on camera?
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
Because you
sure.
don't have to. Yeah. This is when we say if you want to participate and be on screen, you can, but if you don't want to, you don't have to, but you can still participate.
It's not required.
Yeah, no.
Not required.
because I feel, I mean, I'm brand new, so I feel like I'm getting a fire hose. Where do I learn some of the basics of this so that I can?
You.
Look it up on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very for basic 101 stuff.
Hit
like
your
lots of
library.
books, like-
Well, okay. So maybe a better question is where do I? So I feel like I've been making a lot of contact with a lot of deity work. That's something that has been really profound for me. So how do I get deeper into that? Or because I feel like I'm just making it up as I go along at this point.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering where I can find the structure and the framework to really dig in.
So I started as a solitary doing deity work.
Yeah.
And it did that for like 13 years. And it was amazing. And the most important thing I learned was that first and foremost, you learn through that personal interaction. You can also learn from other sources. You can look up blogs online. There's some really good sources. There's some cool people writing about the things that they do. But at the end of the day, they are also doing that, having their own personal relationship with that deity, with that divinity. And so it's fun to collaborate with others about it. And it's also important to develop your own practice. Do
and
both.
your own relationship too, because it's almost like you can't look up a framework to build a relationship because every person's different, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, how would you? It's about being open and vulnerable enough to learn about another person, just in the exact same way because we are deity, you know, and so building a relationship with that, you can look up correspondences, but instead of saying, what kind of incense should I offer to this deity, you could ask and then follow your intuition, and then that's almost even better than following correspondences and stuff.
He's doing it.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
because then
why
that
the
means you're
game's
actually
really
fun.
listening to
Yeah.
them. Like,
No. Yeah, I like, and then
Yeah.
spell work. You mentioned, I don't know. You mentioned 3 components. There was the energy component. There was the will, and then what was the other one?
You guys want to talk about the anatomy of a spell real quick?
Yeah.
We still got
That's one of
time.
my questions.
Always.
Okay. The anatomy of a spell is as such: altered consciousness. It could be while you meditate, while you do certain ritual things that put you in a headspace that
Roleplay.
that is just non-mundane, not your normal life. Nothing wrong with your normal life, but you're not casting from your normal life. This is why we were talking about magical names earlier. This is why some people might elect, even though I use my same name, I use a version of it that I don't use in the mundane, because it's easier to. I do try to integrate them both, but it's easier to kind of get out of your own head, because your mundane head is full of limitations of what is.
Well, that's why I've never told anybody my personal one. Like, it's just between me and because once you tell somebody, they know, and then it's no longer a secret.
Yeah, that's true. As far as spellcasting itself, so altered consciousness, this doesn't have to mean substances or anything like that. It's
It
just the
can.
act. It can, but it can be just the act of ritual or meditation or whatever it is that you do to become in your non-mundane. That's all that is. Clear intention. And there's a lot of things to be said, and this is where methodology does come in. And I'd love to give you a couple of books that really helped me out starting out too, because just some methodology. Because there's a certain thing called magical hygiene where you can really mess yourself up if you like talking about phrasing properly, using the words in a growth thing, like to draw in, open to, and increase, whereas to remove and dissolve and recover on a waning moon or sun or things like that. Certain wording can screw up your spell and give you the exact opposite of what you want. Kind of like...
don't think of the elephant in the room.
Exactly.
And everybody's thinking of elephants.
Or if you have a problem and you're going to be like casting for this to stop. I don't want this to happen. I don't want to get in a car crash. No car crashes, please.
Car crash. No.
Yeah. All you're doing is you're juicing up the intention of a car crash.
It's like if you are going into Facebook, right? And I hate hamsters. Don't show me hamsters. No hamsters. I don't want to see any hamsters. Facebook, no hamsters. I mean it. All you're going to see is hamsters because you've typed hamsters in like 70 times.
Well, like parenting's the same way. Like they've proven, like if you say no, don't jump on the couch, the kids aren't hearing no. They're so if you want them to stop doing certain things, you give them a different thing to do. Like oh hey, you have a lot of energy. Let's do this instead because couches aren't for jumping on. So instead of saying no this, give something else. So same thing with spell work. It's like I don't want this. So what is the thing I want instead, and focus on that. Just like a kid, because we're all just kids.
I had a therapist tell me the same thing with mental health because I struggle with a lot of things. I don't want to be this. And she's like, you do realize your brain doesn't process the don't or no. So you have to consciously think of what you want to be because your brain can process that. It doesn't understand the word don't, not, no, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Walls aren't for drawing on. Here's paper. Like don't draw on this instead. You're not saying no. You're not even getting mad at the creative action. You're saying, oh, let's do it here instead. Let's focus it here. Yeah.
And then we can put it up on the fridge.
Yeah.
Where everyone sees it.
Essentially, your reality reflects what you focus on.
Yes.
Yep.
Energy goes where attention goes.
You beat me to it.
Sorry.
You're creating your own reality around you every day.
Yeah. So that covers aspects of altered consciousness, clear intention, and then the energy manipulation to power your spell. You have a clear intention. You've built a little package of a spell that's worded properly and hygienically. You've been... I won't go into all the details, but like you've invoked or asked for the assistance of perhaps deities or elemental correspondences, depending on whether you do deity work or not, which you do.
You can ask for psychological correspondences. You can ask for ancestor correspondences, people who have passed on in the fields you work in. There's all kinds of things you can do.
Oh, yeah. And so, and then this is what we were talking about, aligning your energies when you cast your spell for the right time, the right place, and the right methodology for the biggest amount of effect. You're casting it into the ether, and you want it to be heard. You want it to go far. You want it to gain momentum. That's why I love group work so much, because you're all focusing together and making a cone of power to a shared intention.
That's the trebuchet.
That's the
And then, like, just a word, because sometimes, just because I've experienced this, like, people will hear energy manipulation and go, oh, that's bad, But just think about, with group stuff, if you're in a little kid swimming pool and you all start going the same, if you go by yourself, you can get the water to start going. You're manipulating the water. That's not evil. You're just having fun with the water, making it move. So just because we're saying energy manipulation doesn't mean that's bad. It just means you're taking a thing and doing something with it. We do that with blocks, whatever you're doing. And then if you have a bunch of people going in a circle in the swimming pool, then you can really get like the water going. So I teach that just to the kids. It's like, see how that is? You just moved energy, and then you can do that in a ritual. Like Lunasa is coming up, so it's going to be about milling, and it's going to be about moving in a circle and getting the energy to go which way you want it to go. So, like, it's more about that, like, not manipulating it. But
So we have altered consciousness, magical hygiene, clear intention.
Well, I'd say altered consciousness, clear intention, which all of this includes, but the three big points would be non-mundane consciousness, clear intention, and then just the way you use the energy to power the spell.
Yeah.
Your
And you can still say energy manipulation. I just wanted to do a caveat on. It's not about like, because people
Manipulating
go like,
people.
you're manipulating my energy now. You're like, no, I'm just...
Right. Yeah, it's just that.
It doesn't have to have a negative connotation.
Exactly.
We're just moving energy.
Yeah,
That's it.
I just like the caveat because sometimes when people are new to the path, they can go, oh no, that sounds like all these scary stories I've heard growing up.
Well, and that's on the screen now, just so that we have the anatomy of a spell: altered consciousness, clear intention, energy manipulation.
And if
I can also give you the more poetic version, if you want.
Feel free.
I love
just
the poetic version.
if you want to get all mysterious, you say to make a spell and get the incense and my cloak, my cowl over and everything like that. It is to know.
To dare.
You're giving Robin Hood vibes. I don't know if this
I know. Goth Robin Hood.
Gothman Hood.
Gothman Hood.
I'll get that Sheriff of Nottingham
No, you were
with
about
my
to.
spell casting.
I was like, silly goose, now give some deep occult knowledge.
Give us the poetic version.
The silliest of gooses know the deepest of occult knowledge.
Bestow upon me.
Bestow upon me the deepest of occult knowledge.
We used to say in the covens, to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent.
You can say it in Latin too if you want to get really fancy with that.
To dare.
So essentially, when you're talking about energy manipulation, you're drawing on something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Whether that's a group or a deity or the sun.
I'd phrase it in the way that you're drawing on something that you're a part of, but is not related in only your physical form. Because there's all that energy is in this room right now. But if this table wasn't here and we stood up and started doing circle ritual, that we would polarize that energy, and we would.
The battery that you're standing on?
The battery that you're standing on. Yeah. It's nothing weird. You're not calling in evil from anywhere. It's the energy that you're soaking in constantly.
The batteries are always there, but once you put it in a remote control, then you can actually access new realms.
It's kind of like bringing awareness to something that's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're already walking in a giant swimming pool, and that's the water is the energy. And if we are focusing on it, and how if you were ever underwater as a kid, you did try to make the tornado underwater.
Yep.
It's a similar concept. The circle rituals are, they're a lot, but they're a great way to kind of understand the type of energy manipulation by saying, okay, it's already here. We're just focusing and redirecting it
And shaping.
Yes.
So circles are math, and I don't know math first of all, so everybody needs to look into this first. But when you take a circle, just the shape itself, and then you add whatever the mathematical equation was, so if you're better at this than I am, look it up. When you put it into like those fancy calculators we all had in the early 2000s, it creates a wave. It creates two waves. A circle creates a wave.
Sine? Sine wave?
Yes? I'm not good at math. I failed.
I believe so.
I'm not good at math, but this is what I'm remembering. So a circle creates a wave, and that's why you have like the flower of life symbols, and then you start adding all of it, and then it creates like the soul and everything. So we use circles because the circle itself has energy in it. It has two waves. It has the solar wave and has the lunar wave. It has the opposite waves because they're going different directions and everything.
That's why
It's cool.
numerology is great for your magic and knowing some geometry, some platonic solids. That's important too.
A circle contains nothing, and it contains one thing, and it contains infinity. It's got the three in it. It's got the I don't want to say the Godhead at the risk of sounding awful, but it has the Trinity in a circle. It's zero because it's
almost
and then it's
like
one.
They're all kind of connected or something.
And then it's a circle, and then it's infinity.
Infinite points, right? So like a straight line is a straight line, right?
That's
but
the thing.
A circle is not
You
a
did
line,
it.
it's just infinite points. Yeah.
That's the one. And that's why like the Vesica Pisces is cool, because it's talking about like as above, so below. As within, so without.
Oh, we're passing around sine waves.
They're doing it,
science.
and that's why circle. And just think of the ancient people who did circle rituals, and they knew that. They might have not even have known the math about why they're using a circle, but like
They were pretty good at math.
they still used it because you didn't have to. The people who could feel it, even though they didn't know the math of why they were circling.
They came to this knowledge in a different way than we have it today.
It's a sign.
Yeah, that.
I'm getting that up.
Okay.
I'm trying to anyway. We'll see.
Okay. Camera
find it
roll.
behind the ear.
Swipe. Okay.
Oh yeah. So. And
You know
then,
what?
if anybody
We'll try.
remembers, this is also what the sun is doing in space as it moves through the solar system. It makes this as the sun is going. Because we always picture the sun just being there, but the sun is moving. We're moving. The sun is moving and doing this.
This also ends up forming, if you have two of these, they form the double helix shape that your DNA is made out of.
That's what
So,
the two
like,
make in the circuits.
Yep. It's the path of our Earth around the sun and the sun around
See,
the galactic
once you
center
can
and the
let go,
galaxy.
once you can let go of that stuff, you can get into this stuff.
You really like go that quick.
Well, it does real fast.
It's really fast, and it's not as chaotic in person when everyone's looking at it. But this is what
We
they're
experience
talking
it
about.
slower than that.
We're
I mean,
experiencing this slur.
my brain feels like that sometimes.
But this is the idea of the wave and the circle that everyone was talking about,
So,
and what we passed around in the
The
room.
circle,
It's the circle of life.
and it moves us all.
I was waiting for something.
Almost there.
Yes, Monica. Do you want to be on camera?
Sure, I guess.
I think you're pretty, so you could be on the camera.
Well, okay, first I want to say something just really fast about when you, Mike, were talking about like you did the circle. It all comes back to circle.
Yes.
The Wheel of the Year,
Yeah.
and you were talking about like the vertical line represents energetic. What did
Yeah.
you call it?
Energetic.
I could draw it again in a second. And show it.
Correspondences, yeah, and then the vertical line represents elemental correspondences. I didn't quite understand the difference between those two, energetic versus elemental.
Yeah, real quick, I'll show you. I'll do it a little small.
Tiffany's head.
Right over to.
Okay.
And now she can eat it.
So again. Okay. So, Wheel of the Year, dead of winter, midsummer, spring equinox, fall equinox. Okay, so this is when the days are at their shortest. Solstice. And this is the solstice when the days are at their longest. Okay? So between here and here is your energetic correspondence for the sun. Because here you're going to cast for growth even though it's at its weakest point, but the direction it is moving is toward growth. Now, and at midsummer, even though it's at its height, right now it's hot and plenty of power there, but it's moving toward waning. So it's not so much about the power you're drawing from in the energetic. It's which kind of spell you want to do, which way you want your spell to go. Is it going inward or outward? Is it increasing energy or decreasing? Is it growing or is it dissolving? Okay, so that's
so can I just clarify? So energetic, in what you're kind of saying is, energetic means increase or decrease of energy. Is that an oversimplification?
that is a perfective simplification, I guess. Is that a word? It isn't.
You're saying I'm perfect. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So this would be the light half of the year, and this is the dark half of the year, energetically speaking. Now, I made a real mess of that, so I'm going to do it again. Now, here we are, same thing. These are the equinoxes when they're at equal strength. So again, fall, spring equinox. Now, if you divide it this way, this is the elemental solar correspondence, meaning from here, the sun is now fighting a winning battle and has more energy than the dark. The days are longer than they are dark. And then here, that's waning. So that we're talking about the literal power of the sun. Here is where the sun is now fighting a losing battle against the night. So that's where I stopped drawing off the power of the sun. And if you're doing just the straight elemental correspondence, this is when you start drawing off the power of the sun, because now the weight has tipped into the benefit of the sun, the energy of the sun.
This was how I originally did it when I started my own practice all by myself.
Monica, are you asking elemental as in where does like earth, air, fire, water come in? Is that where your question was coming from? How is that elemental versus energetic?
Is that what it means?
Well, that's what I was wondering if that's what your question was.
I don't know.
Because when you used elemental again, I was like, is that where the question's coming from?
I wondered if it did have to do with that, but
I
we're saying it
remember-
doesn't.
I remember it being very
I mean, is
confusing.
that what we're saying?
When I started out, I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to be like drawing on the power of the sun when it's at its hottest, or if I was supposed to be drawing on it when it was waxing only, right? So you can either draw on it when it's hot, or you can draw on it when it's waxing, starting at the winter solstice, when it's freezing cold and the sun is at its weakest, but it's just started growing again, right? It's still cold. It's still at its weakest. You may not want to draw on the sun at this time for certain workings, but you do for other workings, right? When you're starting something new, right? But when it's at the heat of its power, right now it's waning, but even though it's waning, it's at the heat of its power. So you can still elementally draw on that heat that's right above you right now to fuel something you have passion for and something you want to do.
But the intention and the wording of the spell would be different, even though you're drawing on that same power.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like the Earth has north and south hemispheres and then west and east hemispheres, right? They don't negate each other. They just they all organize it a little bit differently.
So if we're right here on both of these, we're in the dark half of the year. So if just for solar, we were talking all about the lunar. That's a whole different thing, and you can do that every month. But just for solar correspondences, we're in the dark half of the year. So phrase your things toward releasing and making room. That's what Samhain's all about, and a lot of these harvest festivals are. So that's kind of the wording and the intention, going with the energy of it. But absolutely, you are still very much in the light elemental half of the year. So go ahead and draw off the sun's actual energy for that. So this is more about where you draw the energy, and this is where your focus should be. Does that make sense? This is about how much power you have, and this is about how you funnel that power.
So to work with the elemental version, trust when your nose detects the season is changing. Work with that. And then for the energetic one, work with your understanding of when it's waxing and waning. Work with this. Work with this guy.
And then I see we have like 5 more minutes left, but I do want to go back to like deity work because that was mentioned as something interesting. Now I'm Godhood.
Oh, that's hot.
Really quick, because I just want to put them in the feed. Can I just throw out 2 books for you? And I can talk to you after too. But 2 books that I think everybody should look at if you're looking at actual correspondences, but I've never done this. How do I do it? The Spiral Dance by Starhawk is a goodie, and that's one of the first ones I read where I was just like, I'm remembering this, not learning it.
It's an old classic.
It's still relevant. Like that one still holds up too.
Yeah, it's from the 70s, 60s,
something like that.
Yeah. There's been a couple of updates, I think.
Yeah, there's
new additions.
Yeah.
The newest edition is so good.
Yeah.
Like the 30th anniversary,
or
something like that. Spiral Dance is great, and also my personal recommendation would be just about anything by Chris Penczak, but Christopher Penczak's The 3 Rays of Witchcraft. Because Penczak gets into a deep dive. He'll have like the witch's shield and the witch's coin and inner alchemy and outer alchemy and stuff. And he has a lot of specialized books, but the 3 Rays of Witchcraft kind of touch on a lot of little things and just give you an idea without a deep dive into like high magic or anything like that, but just like this is high magic, moving on. And just give you an idea of what all those basics are.
And then just to kind of bring it back to what you were talking about with that, back to the god path and then the goddess path. Think about it as somebody growing up. And so at Yule, the god is born. Like we see that in Christmas. It's funny. The god's born at the solstice and then goes out onto their journey at Ostara, comes back home as a man at Litha, and then grows to be an old man. And so you can also think about that where you are on the Wheel of the Year. Right now, it's really virile energy, and you don't have to be one or the other, male or female. It's just there is very good virile energy from the god path, and then meanwhile you have the goddess path where she's doing something very similar, but like she releases Maiden Mother Crone all year long in a cycle, but then you have the god that does it all year. So then you can kind of think about like, where am I now? Because sometimes I'll like, I know that I'm only like in my mother stage, but I'm feeling really crony right now. So like if you're wanting to Oak King yourself, like you were talking about, if you want to go Oak King, Holly King, you can be like, where are we now? Okay, we're on the Holly King aspect. This is very much the masculine has come home, and now we're like what we talked about earlier. We're like nurturing our surroundings and our systems. How am I in my world this way? So you can start looking into deities that are more fatherly figures, or just like that, like nurturing. And then as we get back to winter solstice, you can start looking at the young god like theories, like the child of promise theories, like all that kind of stuff. And then you can go through like the whole cycle of life within that same thing, and you can look at deities that correspond to that.
Yes.
I'm just going to pop on the screen really quick the 2 books that Mike said, The 3 Ways of Witchcraft and Spiral Dance. Those are images. Screen grab them. These are the ones that we were talking about.
Yay, Rouse is so cool.
And now we're popping back over to you guys.
Okay. Any questions while we wrap up?
Let's keep talking. Anything?
If there's anything you wanted to hear again or to go over again, this is going to be on YouTube channel, so that is there.
Yeah, you can go over all of this on YouTube.
Thank you, rocks.
Yeah.
All right, feel free, everybody here, stay afterward. We're gonna hang out for a while, but
And there
for
is a witchcraft, so if
Oh,
you're watching from
Oh,
home and
yes.
you're like, hey, do I want to come to the market? Yes, you do.
Yes, you
Loki's doing scrying mirrors, $10 a piece.
They're gonna
And
be so
you'll be here till 3?
3.
3.
Yep.
And I'm going to do a shameless plug and say, Ave Melody Media
Ave
Business.
Hey, thank you, Rox.
No,
Ave
no
Media.
worries.
You're so cool.
Thanks so much, everybody. And we're going to go ahead and end our stream.
Yay! See you next time.
Do, do, do.